Hello, everyone! I'm so excited to share another classic tale with you today. This is a timeless story about trust, truth, and how our actions affect others. As we dive into the tale, we'll meet a young shepherd boy who learns a powerful lesson about what happens when you don't use your words carefully. I'm talking about the story The Boy Who Cried Wolf. I hope you enjoy it. Alistair lived on a hill that was high and wide, a place where the wind sang through the pine trees and the clouds looked close enough to touch. His job was to watch the village's sheep, a flock of fluffy, white balls of wool that moved as one. But Alistair, with a mind as fast as the mountain wind, found it to be the most boring job in the world. He yearned for adventure, for excitement, for something to happen. One day, out of pure boredom, he decided to create his own adventure. He took a big, deep breath and yelled with all his might, "Wolf! A wolf is here! Help!" From his high perch, he watched the village below stir into action. Farmers dropped their tools, bakers left their bread, and people of all ages ran up the winding path to the hillside. They arrived out of breath and ready to protect the flock, only to find Alistair grinning. "There's no wolf," he said, trying to hold back a giggle. "I just wanted to see what you would do." The villagers were not pleased. They had wasted their time and energy for a silly prank. The stern looks on their faces were enough to make Alistair feel a little bit bad, but his need for excitement was still strong. They walked back down the hill, their steps heavy and slow. The next week, the boredom returned. The sheep munched on grass, the sun beat down, and Alistair felt the old restlessness bubbling up again. He let out another cry, this time making his voice sound even more panicked. "Wolf! It's here, really! Please come quickly!" Again, the villagers came. They climbed the hill with a determined look, ready to face the danger. But when they arrived, they found the sheep chewing peacefully and Alistair with a mischievous glint in his eye. "Just a little joke," he said. This time, the villagers were truly angry. They told him that his games were not fun and that they had important things to do. They warned him that if he cried wolf again, no one would believe him. They left him alone with his flock, a silence hanging in the air that was even heavier than the quiet of the hillside. For a long time after that, Alistair went back to his quiet life. He watched the sun rise and set, he counted the sheep, and he learned to find a different kind of peace in the stillness. He even started to feel a little bit sorry about his tricks. Then, one hazy afternoon, the stillness was broken. A shadow moved at the edge of the forest. It was long and lean, and its coat was the color of dried leaves. A wolf. And then, a second one followed. They moved with a purpose, their eyes fixed on the flock. Alistair's heart started to pound in his chest. This was it. The real thing. But when he opened his mouth to shout, the words caught in his throat. He remembered the angry faces of the villagers and the warning they had given him. Would they even hear him this time? Would they believe him? He couldn't risk it. He knew what he had to do. He had to be brave. He took a shaky breath, filled his lungs with the mountain air, and yelled with all his might, "Wolf! A wolf is here! It's real this time! Please help me!" His voice echoed down the valley. They were so busy with their work and so sure that it was just another one of Alistair's games. They heard the sound, but they ignored it. Alistair knew he was on his own. He grabbed his shepherd's stick and ran toward the flock, waving his arms and yelling to scare the wolves away. He tried to be as big and as loud as he could be, but he was just one small boy against two big wolves. The wolves were startled, but they were not scared. The sheep scattered in every direction, bleating in fear. The wolves were faster and stronger. In the end, they grabbed a small lamb and disappeared back into the trees, leaving Alistair alone with his terrified, scattered flock. As the sun began to set, a few villagers, who had noticed the strange noise and the scattered sheep, slowly made their way up the hill. They saw Alistair, his face streaked with dirt and tears. The truth was written all over the hillside. The villagers didn't scold him. They didn't say, "We told you so." Instead, the village leader, a kind old man with a long white beard, put a hand on Alistair's shoulder. "A lie can be forgiven," he said softly, "but the trust it breaks is much harder to fix. We must always be truthful, for the sake of those who count on us." Alistair didn't need any more warnings. The fear he had felt and the sadness of the lost lamb were a lesson he would never forget. And so, we come to the end of our story. The shepherd boy, Alistair, learned a very important lesson that day. He discovered that trust is like a special gift, and once you lose it, it can be very hard to get back. But it's also a lesson for the villagers, reminding us all of the importance of listening and being open, even when it's hard. I hope this story helps us remember the power of our words and the true value of being honest with one another. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to sharing our next classic story with you soon. Goodbye for now.